Okay, good evening, everyone. Can I please have a motion to adjourn closed session and reconvene into open session? Can you hear me? Okay. Can I please have a motion to adjourn closed session and move into open?
Motion.
Okay. Motion made by Andrews. I'll second. Second by Dressel. To move from closed session and reconvene into open session at 7:11. Pardon our slightly tardy opening of the meeting. Okay. On the roll call, please.
Dawn, aye. Andrews,
Aye.
Gonzalez, Dressel,
Aye.
Lopez, absent. Jimenez,
Aye.
Steinfeld,
Aye.
Okay. I am calling the meeting to order then at open session to order at 7:12. Can everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, thank you very much. One more time on the roll call, please.
Andrews,
Here.
Dressel,
Here.
Dawn, here. Lopez, absent with notice. Jimenez,
Here.
Steinfeld,
Here.
Gonzalez.
Here.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We will move on to the superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm going to move over there for the first couple of presentations. Jim, if you could just put up that return to school sheet. All right, so I just wanted to start off just by sharing a little bit about our back to school. We have students back in person, which we are extremely excited about. And so we've been communicating to our families the expectations and what school looks like here this year. Our building administrators, our teachers have been sharing information and making sure that everyone's aware of procedures and protocols so that we can be safe. First and foremost, we have our students back in person, and we have our students attending in person, and our goal is to continue to have those high expectations as we move forward with academics. We have all of our students wearing masks, and students, staff, visitors, anyone within the buildings are wearing masks at all times and on buses. We have had really great support around that, and we are seeing really no concerns and issues around masking. Jim, can you scroll down a little bit? So we are continuing a lot of our plans that we had in place that were so effective last year, we're continuing with. So last year we put a lot of hand sanitizer stations within our schools, our maintenance and custodial staff, and made sure we had disinfectant wipes in all of our buildings. So continuing to work on that good hygiene and the use of PPE throughout our buildings. Our fill stations are being utilized at this time, so not our actual water fountains, but the fill stations are available for kids to fill their water bottles. We are continuing with that cleaning and that we had in place again last year, and continuing to ensure that we are cleaning daily and disinfecting. We are doing physical distancing to the greatest extent possible. We've been looking at our lunchrooms. Kids are sitting, as far apart as they can when they are eating, and really paying attention to that physical distancing. Our meals are back to our normal meals in our schools. Again, the way they're sitting, our building administrators have done a great job spacing students out. It has been really hot, as we all know, but we have taken advantage of some outside seating when we can. We are continuing with the COVID-19, the Buy Next Now testing, and so we've had people taking advantage of that already. Just if they're feeling sick and want to make sure that they are not COVID positive, then they're getting tested in our schools, and our nursing department has done an amazing job facilitating that. We will be sending information out to our families in the next few days around the possibility of our a more intensive screening program. That is the SHIELD Illinois program. Right now we're putting it in place for if we were to have an outbreak, but we would like to know how many of our parents would like to be interested in that on a more consistent basis. We would definitely need a larger number to be participating in order for that to be a quality mitigation strategy. So we are continuing to meet with representatives from SHIELD, as well as get more information that we will be sharing out with our families to determine if that's something that our families are interested in. We continue with the contact tracing protocols that have been in place. Those are reported by Dr. Bruno to the Cook County Department of Public Health, and then there's communication on what quarantine would need to look like. We've had very few quarantine cases so far this year. Some actually were prior to the school year starting, and so kids never started, but they may have been a close contact, and so they didn't come to school. But we have very few. I think across the district we had about 12 that were close contacts and are currently on a quarantine and will be finishing up and coming back to school. Vaccination status, so we have asked our families, our staff and our families, to upload and share proof of vaccination so we can get a better idea of the total percentage of our students that are vaccinated as well as our staff, because that is clearly part of our back to school plan. So we are gathering that information and we'll have a better handle on that probably by next week. We'll be sending out some reminders to our families that if their child is vaccinated to let us know. That will help us if anyone does need to quarantine or if there is a close contact. And also it will help us know the percentages within our district. So we are off to a really great start, and our most important thing, right, is our kids are back in person and really excited to be in school. We've heard a lot of excitement around students, families. I think a lot of us were at the back to school picnic and we heard that excitement from parents around bringing their kids back to school. And obviously we will continue to monitor data within their community, within Cook County, as well as within what's happening in our schools. And Dr. Bruno is in regular communication around any types of quarantines or any changes to guidance that is happening, so we will continue to stay on top of that. Are there any questions from board members? You probably saw this information, it did go out to our families.
I don't have a question. It's more of just want to applaud all of the principals, assistant principals, administration, staff, teachers, everyone who has made this year, the beginning of this year, as seamless as it has been. You know, not just being a board member, but a parent of a child in the district. I applaud you. Thank you for what you've done to make this what it is. And it hasn't been easy, I'm sure, but it's felt good. So thank you.
Here, here.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our next presentation, which is just giving the board some information on how we kicked off our school year with our new staff as well as with all of our returning staff. So we like to share the messages that we shared with staff with our Board of Education so we can all be on the same page regarding what our year is looking like ahead. So we had a new staff week where new staff to our district came, and then we followed that with 2 opening institute days with our entire staff. So we always start our time, especially with new staff, but we certainly do revisit this with all of our staff, is what we believe. And one of the things we highlighted this year was that we can say we have beliefs, but we also have to show all of these beliefs in our actions. And so we've had these belief statements in our district for several years now. And so we want to make sure that everything we're doing, the decisions we're making, and our actions are supporting our belief statements as a district. So these are some of the key words in our belief statements. We talk about really making sure that learning is rigorous and personalized for our students, that we're striving for that academic excellence, ensuring that those expectations remain high for our students. We want them to be successful in their future. We've really made a strong investment on making sure we have innovative instructional practices so that kids have an opportunity to have that more personalized learning and also have the opportunity to demonstrate their understanding of learning in a variety of different ways. We want to ensure as a staff we are collaborative. As student groups, we are collaborative. We're working together, giving students opportunities to be creative, explore. As a district, we've been working throughout the summer, actually last year and in through the summer, on our district improvement plan as well as on our school improvement plans. And you'll be hearing more about that next month in our meeting. But really diving into data and looking at what is our current reality and how are we making decisions and setting goals based on our current reality so we're making the best decisions for our kids. Obviously, our focus is on always continuing to grow. We can always be better, we can always improve, and so we want to identify those very key areas that we want to focus on for continuous student growth. It's been a priority for us to continue to engage with families in the community. We talked a lot last year about strengthening those partnerships through that remote learning process because we needed to strengthen those partnerships because we had to be partners in learning at home. But there's so many ways that we can continue to foster those relationships with our family and our families in our community by creating those partnerships. And one of our key indicators, which you'll see as I talk through several of these slides, and as Bea speaks as well, is our goal in this district is to ensure that we are learning from each other. We all have something to learn from each other. As educators, we have a lot to learn from our students. Our students have a lot to learn from each other. They have a lot to learn from us. We have a lot to learn from our families and our community. Our goal is to be inclusive, to ensure that we're embracing the diversity in our community, that we are finding opportunities to share our ideas and share our stories, again, to build those collaborative relationships, help students take ownership, and we talk about students becoming positive influencers. So we focus on we are all leaders in our school district, and we want to really foster that mindset within our community. So we always start with discussions around those belief statements, and we did a little reminiscing as well. We know where we've been over the last 18 months, right? We were started last year in remote learning. We transitioned to hybrid, and we're really excited that logo for in-person learning is so big because we're excited that that's where we are in our journey right now. So a strong focus of all of our conversations is really that teamwork. And when we talk with our new teachers, what we talk about is that they are surrounded by a room full, a school full, a district full of people who are invested in them, and that we want to provide as much support as they need, and we also want to learn from our new teachers. They're bringing new ideas into our school district, and that's really exciting. And so we're part of a team, and we talk about really seeking out those people that can help make you better. We really invest strongly in our district in coaching, and that's because we all need a coach at times, right? We all need ways to continue to improve. And that is really a culture and a mindset in the district. The only way we're going to continue to get better is to surround ourselves with people that can help us be better. We talk about what's your why, always coming back to why did you become an educator? Why did you choose District 100? What drives you? And then how at the end of the year, or maybe not even that far, maybe just the end of your first week, the end of the month, what defines your success? Is it the relationships that you've built with your students? Is it that collaborative teamwork within your teams? But really spending some time thinking about those pieces. And then as I talked about, we want to continue to foster that culture of leaders and learners. Every voice matters. We're all leaders within the district. We talk about whether you are a brand new teacher and this is your first experience, or whether you're an experienced teacher. We all have things that we bring to the table. And so we need to be open to learning from each other, and we also need to be leaders. No matter what our role is, We are leaders in what happens in District 100. So we always talk, especially with our new teachers, but we try to remind all of our staff, is that we need to be out there sharing our stories. What are we doing here in District 100? How can we learn from each other? So if you don't share your story, who will? So we want our staff to be out talking about the things that are happening in their classrooms, visiting each other's classrooms, so we can all continuously learn from one another. One of our focuses this year, it has been for many years, but we're refocusing on collective efficacy, so that that shared belief that through our collective action, every stakeholder in District 100, educators can positively influence student outcomes. We really want to focus on that collective effort. We have 8 schools, and we're all need to be moving in the same direction, and that is a collective effort. It's an effort to be sure that we're reaching out to other 3rd grade teachers across the district so we can support one another. We can be reaching out to other administrators. Oh, I see that that's working for you. How do I get that to work better here? And so it's really that belief that collectively we are better than doing things separately. And so sharing that wealth of knowledge and sharing what's working best is ultimately going to have the greatest impact on our students. This is a question we always bring ourselves back to. As teachers, as educators, we talk about every day you make tons of decisions. Some of the decisions come really quick. Some of the decisions keep you up at night, right? And you can't sleep, and you're trying to figure out what's the best thing to do. And if we always bring ourselves back to this question, we're going to make the right decision. What is the best decision for kids? And so we've had those conversations. We remind ourselves of that, especially in those tough times, those challenging times. When we're not sure what the best thing is to do, bring yourself back to what's the best thing for the kids sitting in front of us. And then, of course, that coming back after a pandemic, coming back to, well, we're still in a pandemic, but coming back in person, it's really keeping those expectations high and knowing we're surrounding our students with as much support as possible. We're raising those expectations, and we have to have the mindset that our students can, our staff can, our families can. As a district, we can. And really, our kids are most successful, and the best thing that we can do for them is to keep those expectations high. High achievement takes place when there's high expectation, and that mindset around our students can. So in front of you, board members, you'll see a t-shirt there, and on the back are those 3 words. And those are the words that we're really trying to focus on as a district this year. We are all leaders. Yes, all of our staff received those. So we are all leaders in this district, and we are all leaders in continuing to help our district move forward. Our goal is to empower one another, empower our students, empower our families, empower each other to really make a difference in District 100 and really to transform learning. What we talked about is we learned a whole lot last year about ourselves. We learned about how we could educate in a different way. We learned things that work and things that didn't work. But if we don't take those lessons and really transform what we do for kids, then we've missed out on a real opportunity to transform learning for our kids. So those are ended up kind of being our key topics, and so we put those together in some words there, and that's going to help remind us throughout the school year of what we're really trying to focus on. So those were some of the messages that we kicked off with our new staff in. It also then led into our kickoff with all district staff returning last week. And so I'm going to turn it over to Beatrice Maldonado, who, with her team, worked together to really provide some professional development that all staff across the district engaged in.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you for the t-shirts. I'm afraid I'll be mistaken for a teacher at drop-off. I'd love the messaging that we do more together. So thank you for that presentation. All right, B, go ahead.
Wonderful. So yes, as Mary said, our entire team of administrators got together, instructional coaches, literacy coaches, coordinators. We put on, a nice week for our staff to kind of tell them who we are as District 100. We focused a lot on kind of just giving them, this is what makes us District 100, right? So we've had a strong co-teaching program for a number of years, and so, Ryan was able to deliver a nice presentation sharing, what those pieces are, right? You come to a district and you hear these things, but, he was able to kind of share that. Jeanette was able to talk a lot about language acquisition and who our students were and who is sitting in front of them and who will have been sitting in front of them on day one. Leah O'Donnell talked about mentor training, and she worked with the mentors to help our mentors support our new teachers so that every single teacher had someone that they could go to. We could not have done this without the support of Jim Kloss and his crew, without the support of, our buildings and grounds and their crew, George and all of the custodians. Every single one of our team members really contributed to making this week a success. We had our Board of Education welcome, from President Dressel, who came and, just delivered a nice message to our new staff. Our SBEA, we had Lourdes and her team, come on out and talk to the teachers about, their SBEA components. There was a ton. We had, from, let's see, Sam and the entire Innovation Playground. And you talk about people who were really innovating that day. On Innovation Playground Day, we lost the internet here at Heritage. And so there they were. There was a team ready to go, show our staff, how do we innovate? How do we use our technology? And boy, did we have to innovate. And, called on our colleague next door and said, hey, can we borrow your internet in your classroom so that we can really give our team a really nice, experience. And so really, I know I'm forgetting a ton of people, but you see the groups up there. Amanda and Sam talked about equity and culturally responsive teaching. So it was a super, super week for our staff, and I think we broke it up a little bit for them so that they got little nuggets, each day. And then, of course, we couldn't stop, not talking about assessments and standards-based grading because, again, that is something of who we are. And so Lindsay was able to share that piece. So that was our new teacher week, fun-filled. And then we went right away the following week to Institute Days. We had 2 back-to-back. And on those days, again, we looked at, kind of those foundational pieces. How are we going to lead, empower, and transform our entire school district who was just transitioning from, being on remote and transitioning to being back in person. So we gave time to our buildings and our teams of teachers to stay in their home building, work with their principals, work with their staff, and just get to know each other again, kind of see each other in person for the first time. But, we talked a lot about social emotional learning, that day. And then our teams broke up and they started working on curriculum and diving into those pieces so that they could start and be ready to go on day one. We had our related service team, again, come back together and kind of talk and plan out how they were going to be servicing our kids, our preschool, you talk about preschool, I wish you would have walked into that building. There were balloons, there was welcome back, there was sunshines everywhere. Like big balloons of sun. It was so, so cute. And again, preschool teachers, because that is how you welcome our kids. Ryan worked with the paraprofessionals and partnered with West 40, our service center to help them out. And then, we had Schoology come out and show our entire middle school staff, this new platform that they could use. And so that was spearheaded by Lindsay. And then, elements of learning, and the thread that we will see every single Institute Day will be that elements of learning that you see up there. And so Sam and her team talk through, those components. And then in the afternoon on day one, we had the Center for Equity and Excellence. Dr. Rakisha Fry Brown. She came out and worked with our entire district on cultural competency, right? We looked at some pieces of implicit bias and how we are all of us have biases. And so she walked us through in a very non-threatening way, right? A very like, this is it. We are all biased and we should just understand that, but make sure that we understand that so that when we serve our children, we are, kind of checking those biases. We looked at colorblind and cultural blind ideology and how, those pieces, if we're not cautious about how we are using those, we could actually, disregard who our children are. And so acknowledge that we have, children of multiple, identities and ethnicities in our district. We looked at culture, and in general, just looking at culture and making sure that our children feel represented in all that we do, not only in the curricular books that we read and in what we write, but also around the classroom, that, their work is up, that pictures of them are up, and all of those pieces so that they can really see themselves. We looked at culturally responsive practices, which is one of the key threads that we are going to be threading across the entire year. And looking at, for example, making sure that children are honored, teachers are culturally inviting, classrooms are physically and culturally inviting, that we embrace children's development, and that we look at them with a strength-based model. We looked at a variety of strategies to meet their learning needs, and we wanted to make sure that children understand that instruction is individualized, but it's also done collectively. And so I think that when we ended that day and we had our teachers submit their feedback, they said this was very positive, very uplifting. It was very nice welcome back to the school year. The speaker was terrific. It was informative. It was reflective. Because even though we had this speaker kind of remote, and we had it at every single site that we were live streaming, she still said, okay, turn and talk, or okay, talk in your groups. And as I spoke to a variety of people that were at different sites, they said we couldn't stop talking because the prompts were so engaging, and that they were really, really engaged in what they were talking about. And so, it was a very, very positive end to our day. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, B. Any questions for B?
I just want to say excellent job, everybody here, all of our staff. I cannot be more proud to be a part of this family. You guys are amazing. And I can't sing your praises loud enough. So thank you so much.
Thank you, B, for sharing. It is hard to put, 5-6 days of learning into a short presentation, but it's absolutely an all-hands-on-deck approach in District 100 during New Teacher Week and Institute Day. So we're really grateful for our team all across the district that puts on such a great start to our school year. All right, the next thing on the agenda, this is just an update to let everyone know that starting next month, we are going to be doing monthly school spotlights at the start of our board meeting so that we can really share specifically what's happening across each school throughout the entire school year. I mentioned that we've been working on our district improvement plan. Next month, we will kick off with a brief overview of the planning process through the summer. And then, and we want to make sure we do that first because our schools will spend a little bit of time when they share talking about some of the goals that they have specifically for their school, or they might be highlighting some of the progress that they've made in some of their goal setting. They're also going to recognize a student or a staff member or a group of students, something that has happened within their school that they would like to share and invite families out to recognize what's happening in their school. So that is going to start off next month, and we'll be kicking off with Emerson. Will be our first school up to share. So we're very excited about that and looking forward to having the opportunity to highlight the amazing work that's happening in our individual schools across the district.
Thank you. I just want to say I'm really excited about this series because as a district parent, you get to know your home school very well, but you don't always, as a board member, get to experience the great things that are happening at every school. So I'm really excited about this opportunity for each building to share, and yeah, that's all. Great. Anybody else?
All right, good. So facilities update, George is gonna give us a brief update on where we are. We still have some work that's finishing up. We have some things that are still being tweaked across the district from our summer work, but overall, we're pleased with the progress, and most was done on time with some tweaks still happening these last couple weeks here.
Well, thank you, Superintendent Havis. Yeah, right now, all of our construction projects are substantially complete. There's some controls that we're working on, like with our building automation. Everything's been changed over at Freedom. I know the first couple of days, there were concerns about the climate there. That's all been worked out. Our 3 gymnasiums that got new air conditioning put in, those are all working, which these last couple of days really came in handy. Freedom, the colonnade over there, if you haven't passed by there, it looks really nice. That's almost done. There's just some trim work that needs to be finished there. Hiawatha Playground looks amazing. If you haven't had a chance to go there, pass by there. It really looks nice. Everything else is pretty much done. Was done on time. And of course, there's going to be some punch list items to finish. And we've relamped the whole district. We're done with that. Every classroom, and now that school's back in session, we're concentrating on hallways, restrooms, things that aren't going to disrupt the learning environment. We've added water faucets to, there were a lot of restrooms that the faucets weren't working properly. We've replaced all those with touchless. We've gathered PPE, distributed it. So everything in facilities is moving along. There's always a few road bumps, but we're moving along pretty well.
Yes, and thank you to George and his whole team. Really getting the schools ready in the middle of a lot of construction is no small feat, and so they did a great job this summer. And we're already obviously starting to think ahead to additional projects. As we remember, we have a very extensive facilities project, facilities long-range plan. And so no sooner do we finish up projects in the summer that we start planning for summer or for projects throughout the year and into the next school year, because we do know we've set some goals for ourselves as a board and as a district with creating our facilities plan and really making sure that we're investing in our facilities. So one of the things that's on your agenda later tonight is to approve some furniture updates for the LRCs at our 2 middle schools. And so they have been working with our architects to identify ways that our LRCs can be more usable spaces, where we can have students spread out, where we can have a variety of classes in the LRC. And so that has been ongoing work, and that is on the agenda for tonight because our plan is to do some of those updates between Thanksgiving and Christmas in the LRCs at both middle schools. So we're really excited about that. And then obviously continuing throughout the year, we'll be planning for next summer projects. I know of 2 schools that can't wait to get air conditioning in their gyms next summer. So that is on our long-range plan for next year. And so we will continue to update throughout the year. Also, we are going to be having a buildings and grounds meeting coming up before the next board meeting so that we can do a little bit of touring of some of the work that was done. So we'll keep everyone updated on that. In your board packet, you have an updated enrollment report. So we did have a lot, the first 3 days of school was a lot of families still registering. So we weren't really clear of all of our numbers, but we have had more families registering. So right now, we're at almost 3,000 students, which is about where we were last year at this time. So we'll keep an eye on that. We still are watching, as we've talked about pretty regularly in this district for several years, that downward trend. So right now, we're at about 3,000 students. Last year, we ended the school year with 3,300. The year prior to that, we ended the school year with almost 3,600. So we're definitely continuing to see that downward trend. Although usually we go up a bit after Labor Day, we get some more students sometimes. So I would say by next month, the enrollment report will be a little more stable, because right now we still have students enrolling and getting started. So that'll be, you'll have a better picture in September. We did have 2 FOIAs this month that were both submitted. And I will turn it over to Jenny for the financial report.
Thank you. Our bank balance as of today is $40,686,000. Our revenue to date for this year is 2.5 million. I'm sorry, our revenue to date for August is 2.5 million. And if you see in our cash flow, I don't know if you can blow that up, Jim. Our revenue for the month of July was only 1.1 million, which represents 1.93% of the budget. It should have been closer to at least 8%, so that was very low. Our expenses for the month to date for July were 5.1 million, which is higher than normal, but we had 3 payrolls that month. So that represents 9% of the total. Jim, if you can go to the grant snapshot. All right, so right now our grant snapshot looks very bare, looks very, very bare. Grant numbers are just starting to come in of what we're being awarded by the state for grants, and the grant managers have been busy writing the grants. Where you don't see an amount at all is they haven't released a grant number as of when I did this report. So we'll continue to monitor that. This is why one of the reasons why our budget is fluid. Last month you approved a tentative budget. Next month you'll approve the actual budget for FY22. And there's fluctuations that go with as the grant numbers come in and as the grant spending comes in. So we'll continue to update the budget. Next month you'll have a hearing and then the approval of the budget. It has to be sent to the state by the end of September. Also on our agenda tonight, you'll see approve the hazardous crossing. That's an annual approval that we need to do. It's so that as we're transporting students over Ogden or over the Burlington Railroad tracks, we can submit to the state for reimbursement for funding, and it helps bring in funding. And I don't have anything else. That's my report.
All right, yep, and that is the end of the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you, everybody. All right, moving on to the president's report. Up first, we have an update on the IASB resolution. The IASB is the Illinois Association of School Boards, and I will let Member Dawn take over.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so President Dressel and I traveled to Springfield to present our board's resolution to the IASB Resolutions Committee. The committee is made up of 25 individuals from school boards all around the state. We had letters of support from Dr. Havis and Logan Pappenfort, who is the Director of Cultural Preservation from the Peoria Tribe of Oklahoma. And if it's all right, I'd like to read Mr. Pappenfort's letter of support. It's short. The Peoria Tribe's Cultural Department is in full support of Native American curriculum in the state of Illinois. As descendants of those whom were the indigenous population of Illinois, we as a tribal people have a vested interest in educating the public in not only our past, but the past of the Prairie State. The Peoria tribe believes it is of the utmost importance to educate our youth of our history so that they can bring the lessons of the past into the future. This endeavor will help support that wish and will benefit not only our tribal people, but the current occupants of Illinois as well. Sincerely, Logan Pappenfort, Director of Cultural Preservation. So, those are all foggy. We did end up amending the resolution with the suggestion of the IASB committee member to simplify it and make it more effective. This language was sent out to the board for feedback. Hearing none, we did move forward with that amendment. The resolution reads as follows. The Illinois Association of School Boards shall support legislation to include the study of Native Americans, Indigenous people for social studies content and U.S. history. So not only did the resolution receive unanimous support among the committee, about half the committee members tried to second the motion. So it will be recommended for adoption. And then in November at the Delegate Assembly, that is when representatives from school boards across the state will meet and vote to either adopt or not adopt the resolution as a new position statement for IASB.
Just for a little additional context, this is the first time the District 100 School Board has submitted a resolution to the Illinois Association of School Boards, and it was a really interesting experience. There was a little bit of, not pushback per se, but one interesting piece of feedback that we received was one member spoke up and said that she is not particularly a fan of unfunded mandates, but in this case, she really felt that it was resonating, and she was the one who made the motion to approve it. So thank you to Member Dawn for writing that and submitting it to IASB and putting District 100 on the map statewide. Thank you. Does anyone have questions for Board Member Dawn?
I just wanted to thank the board and Mary for your partnership in this very important work. It means a lot. Thank you so much.
Okay, all right. Moving on to policy. Policy report.
Thank you. Thank you. The policy committee met yesterday, and we had several policies that were up for first read. Those included the equal employment opportunity and minority recruitment, a couple of other ones, migrant students, English learners, a couple of others. And just so everyone is clear, those were not for the 5-year policies that we review, but they were up for discussion because of changes that were recommended to us. So we discussed those. We also have some additional policies that are up for adoption today, and those are all the 5-year review policies. So I can go over those. If I can figure out how. Yeah, no, I got it. I'm just bad at the iPad still. Okay, got it. So some of those that were up for approval tonight are the school district legal status, district organization, operations, and cooperative agreements, and those included a list of different organizations that we partner with. And then finally, we also discussed, let me get to the bottom, number 2230, which is the public participation in Board of Education meetings and petitions to the board. There were a couple changes about the time periods that we had discussed, and specifically, if everyone could look at number 3, it's public participation will be held prior to the consent agenda and at the close of the open meeting. We had received some feedback from different board members who voiced a different opinion about that. So I would like to open that up for discussion. If anybody had any comments about whether that should continue and it should be held, the public participation will be after, at the beginning of the consent agenda and at the close of the open meeting as the 2 times. If anybody had any discussion they wanted to add to that.
I have a question. Does the committee have a recommendation?
My personal recommendation is that it's been working fine in my opinion, but I don't believe that we came to a consensus amongst ourselves.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Well, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I just, we discussed this in the board governance agreement, and I thought it was an excellent idea. And so I think it provides an opportunity for our community members to share in our celebrations and become more informed. And the timing to change the allotment to 20 to 25 to give more community members an opportunity to be heard, I thought that that was a good way to move forward as well. So I agree with the way that it's written.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, then this will be up for approval on the consent agenda.
Okay. Thank you very much for the policy report. All right. Moving on to the legislative report.
There were no updates from legislation this month, so there's nothing to report.
Yeah, thank you. When we were actually in Springfield, it was like a ghost town because legislators were not in session. So that was an interesting thing to see. Empty restaurants and everything was closed.
Yeah, I think the governor has just been signing what they already passed, so which is good.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then on to correspondence. We did receive 1 email, 2 emails. Well, earlier in the month, we received 1 email. And then I believe there were two items that came in today at what time? Okay. Okay. So as a point of housekeeping, this is marked public record, and I am not clear if this is intended for public comment or not. We did say that this would be the last month for public comment to be emailed into the board. So we will take an opportunity at the end of the meeting to read these in our second section of public comment. Okay? Does that sound agreeable? Okay. Okay, then moving on to in-person public comment. Please step up to the podium, state your name for the record, and feel free to address the board.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Pallas. I also want to make sure, I know everybody's doing it, but I want to make sure I'm doing it too. Thank you to the admin who are here today. Going back to teaching is difficult at any year, but definitely during these COVID years, I'm glad I'm no longer a teacher. So kudos to you all. Thank you. The first thing I've got a lot on my mind. I'm not going to present much today, but I have some thoughts. I know that people are very concerned about the tax increase. We've seen that the tax increase is primarily coming from the district. What I'd love to see is some, some sort of financial workshop or something like that for the community to understand how the school receives their money and then how that that affects their our taxes, because I know a lot of people were caught off guard by the massive increases, and there's a lot of confusion, frustration, and anger about it. We have the experts on staff here. It'd be great if they could do some sort of public workshop to present about that. And then the other thing that's been coming to mind a lot is we've had quite a few people who keep coming up asking about the school resource officers. There's been, from what I've seen, no communication or no discussion amongst the board. So I do want to make sure that that stays in your mind, that there are people who are not very comfortable with school resource officers. There's a lot of research that shows that the programs are not helpful, especially in communities like ours. And I also know that the school runs on data to decide what teachers they're keeping and what administrators they're keeping. I'm curious what kind of data we're gathering about the performance of those school resource officers to determine why we continue to have that person in the school. And then the final thing is we've done a great job since COVID started. Now all of a sudden we are able to get cameras and be able to broadcast our meetings. I would love to see the addition of language translation. We have a lot of parents in the district who speak Spanish. It would be great if they were able to access this information a little bit easier. We've got the technology. It's really not very hard to add the Spanish translation. So I hope that's something that we'll continue to look at. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else?
Oh, hi, this is Mario Favela. I'm concerned about the lack of an enclosed playground at Pershing. The kids have to leave the campus. It's not enclosed. The park across the street is open to the public. The park should be an additional resource. It shouldn't take away a resource from the school. It'll be easier for the teachers to keep track of the kids if there was an enclosed playground. They're currently playing on, a parking lot basically with chalk and hula hoops and a few other things. They don't have access to swings or slides. There's not the playground across the street, and the park is only intended for 3 to 5-year-olds. As you guys know, it's been about 2 years since the other playground was removed. So thank you for everyone's hard work, everyone's time, and for hearing me out.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Okay, hearing no further public comment, we will move on to the consent agenda. All right, the consent agenda. Items may be removed from the consent agenda on the request of any one member. Are there any items to remove at this time? Okay, hearing none, then I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I will second.
All right. Motion made by Dressel, seconded by Andrews. On the roll call, please.
Dawn, aye. Steinfeld?
Aye.
Lopez, absent. Jimenez?
Aye.
Dressel?
Aye.
Gonzalez?
Aye.
Andrews?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, moving on to the final round of public comment, in which we will read the ones that were submitted to us today, and then we will move on to announcements. Okay, in light of the secretary's absence, board member Dawn is subbing as secretary tonight. I will read one and you can read the other. Does that sound fair? I will read both of them. Okay, great. Okay. Dear District 100 School Board, I am writing to request 1, removal of school resource officers, and 2, ask for the reallocation of budget line items related to SROs. Given also the recent taxes and those that are going towards D100 provide unique opportunities to increase support and investment of resources for D100 families. Investment in the form of additional nurses, social workers, legal services, rent and mortgage assistance, along with meeting basic food needs of Berwyn families, is of the utmost importance during the ongoing pandemic of COVID and racism. There are so many ways funding and priorities need to be shifted. The presence of a school resource officer does not make a place safer. To address concerns about how to best protect children and keep communities safer related to the epidemic of violence in the United States, communities need to come together to solve these issues rather than funding policing in schools to do it. Investment in resources and community, specifically D100 students and parents, will help to solve these issues. I ask that D100 carefully look at budgeting and invest in resourcing and community collaboration versus investing in SROs. Second, dear District 100 School Board, I couldn't be there in person today, but as you may remember, I have been asking for the last couple of months for you to remove school resource officers from Heritage Elementary. Our current taxes hiked up $2,000, and I would love to see the reallocation or the relocation of the 2 salaries of the resource officers to be given to the community. I'm glad to have seen a couple of school board members at pickup and drop-off. Hopefully this means that you are questioning your privilege and why you feel okay with having these officers in schools with children. I look forward to continuing the work on this. Ana Torres. And I'm sorry for the record, the first one was from Jenna Musselman-Paulez. And that concludes public comment. Sorry, I mixed up my papers. Okay, moving on to announcements. Mary?
Yes, I'm sorry. I wanted to announce the hiring of our new assistant principal at Freedom Middle School, Jessica King. So we are very excited to welcome her to our family.
Okay, again, I just want to thank all of our staff for really kicking off the school year in such a positive way. I know that the challenges that we face this year are very unaccustomed, something that we're unaccustomed to, and I want to just thank you all for your dedication to the students in our community, and I wish you all a very happy start of the school year. I know we're a couple days in, but keep it going. And thank you to everyone again for the District 100 swag. Does anyone else have an announcement? Okay, moving on, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
A motion.
All right, motion made by Gonzalez, seconded by Steinfeld. It was moved to adjourn the regular meeting at 8:09 p.m. On the roll call, please.
I'm getting there. Okay, sorry. Andrews? Dressel?
Aye.
Dawn? Aye. Lopez absent with notice. Jimenez? Aye. Steinfeld?
Aye.
Gonzalez?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much for coming.